Hi there, Sandra here. Today's card design depends very much on the type of materials that you have and the simplicity of the design. It is not a complicated design, it's a very simple graphic that I drew, but it has to be cut out very accurately. Now I discovered, because my intention was originally to cut this from a glitter HDV, that was not going to work. So instead I have cut it from a rather pretty type of pressure sensitive vinyl, and I am going to try and line this up so that it is on my cutout. So just press that on and hopefully I can just peel this off. This backing that I'm using is actually a backing from an HTV. I just keep it for use once I've done a design already. I just hang on to it because these sorts of things do come in handy. And very slowly peeling that away from my card. Okay, now I've done that, I can put another piece of paper over it. And I can use a roller to stick it down. The reason for the piece of paper, white card, simple design, every little mark you get on here will show. So this is my basic design. So very simple, very straightforward, and it would be very effective had it cut out really well. I did have a little bit of an issue there. I managed to tear it and I managed to do the same on there. Now what I will probably do is adjust the design so those lines are just a little bit thicker. Just going to give this a good workout with my bone folder. Now you'll notice on here I have little sort of knobbly lines if you look carefully. Now I've done this deliberately because I wanted you to see what it looks like if you do a dashed line on the outer edge of a card, okay? It doesn't look the prettiest. Alright, there are ways of covering up eventually, but it doesn't look the prettiest. And if I was going to send this card, I wouldn't do it that way, believe me. So what you have to bear in mind, if you're going to do a card like this, and there's going to be very little on the front of it, you want to make it as tidy as possible. Occasionally, if you get a rough bit like this, you can actually take a nail file, an emery board, I'll do it on this side, and you can just take off the edge very gently, very little of it. With some card you can do that, and with some card it just won't work, but you can, if you've done it by mistake, you can have a go and do that. Alternatively, if you've got any decorative tapes that you can put around the edge, you can always put it on the edge and actually overlap it so it's on the back. Who cares? And no one's really looking at the back. But that is one way of doing it. But the easiest way of having to get this sorted is not to have the problem in the first place. And the way that you do that is you make sure that you do your dashed lines or your fold lines if you're using a blade, and they're going to be on the inside. Okay, so with this particular card you would have to flip the images, because if you are putting it face down like so, okay, this is the shape you're going to get. But if you are putting it the other way around, you have to flip it. The design won't be the same if you're putting your dashed lines on the inside. So that's what I really wanted to show you in this particular card, okay? So think about it before you cut it. Now the other thing that I did was I created an offset and I drew it with a pen. Now this is pretty simplistic. If I were to just cover that over, put that in there, you can see you get a slightly different effect. Okay, But the other thing that you could do if you really wanted to, and you had the patience to do it, you could actually put glue in all these areas, and then you could actually allow that glue to dry if it's a proper adhesive foiling glue, and you could foil it and then put the foiled image on top of your card. This is a particularly useful technique. Doing an offset and applying your design to the offset is a particularly useful technique if you're not too sure of your placing. Placing something which is adhesive straight on the card requires a steady hand and a good eye. If you get it out of alignment, it's hard to rectify because you're putting a vinyl on the card and it does not want to come off. That's great when it comes to longevity, but it's not so great if you make a mistake where you put it. So if you do an offset and you apply it to your offset, you haven't wrecked your entire card. You can do your offset and your foiling or whatever it is you're doing again, and then stick it onto the card. And if you use a glue rather than a tape, you've got a little bit of wriggle room before you really get yourself stuck down. For the final detail, if you want to, you can use the cutout, the offset, and you can put it on the card on the back here. You can flatten it, put it into a sandwich in your embossing machine and use it to emboss. So when you take that away, what you get on the front, I don't know how well you can actually see it on the card there, you get this raised, embossed section here, which just makes it look that much nicer. Now, I have not put a sentiment on here yet. I generally don't put sentiments on my cards because I frequently give them away, and because a lot of the people who might pick them up are Spanish, or they could be English, or they could be Dutch, or numerous other nationalities. I don't put the sentiments on in case I give them away because it means that it's more easily used by someone, okay? But if you added a nice sentiment to that, that would make a really nice, pretty, simple, classic card, especially if you have a pretty adhesive vinyl like that one. Okay, that's it. I'll see you again soon. Take care now.